Okay, so we're recording.
All right, I'd like to call the June 24th, 2020 meeting of the Easthampton Historical Commission to order. Time is 6:18. First order of business, we have public speak. Any public want to speak? John? Did you want to?
Only to let the members know that I can share a link to an interesting article about the archaeological site in Northampton up on King Street, and people can look at that. We might want to support it or not, but looks like the kind of thing that would be interesting to this group.
Where is it on King Street?
I believe it's, right where the motorcycle dealership is there, just past the Walmart at that intersection on the hill.
Yeah.
I believe it's up on the hill there.
Okay.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that would be great if you'd share that.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing I would point people out about is the desire to have the archaeological survey released. I would think that would be what we would support, but again, you should take a look.
Okay, good. Okay, so we'll skip over the public hearing continuation at this point.
Mike, can I just interrupt before you do that? Do you want to, are we just going to continue it to the end of the meeting tonight, or you'd want to continue it to another date and time?
We'll revisit that at the end of the meeting. If we don't hear from Manny, then we should probably continue. What's everybody's opinion on that?
It's fine.
Right. I mean, that we can get back on our normal schedule, second Wednesday.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Or do we want to approve last, well, I guess it's March's meetings notes?
Excuse me?
You
You kind of broke up a little bit there for a second, but.
Do we want to approve the minutes from the last, that you enclosed from the last in-person meeting?
Yes, March meeting minutes. And didn't do anything for April at this point. I mean, do we need minutes for the April meeting? I think all we did was open and close the meeting, so.
Didn't we?
Didn't write anything up on that.
I think we just were testing the doability.
Yeah.
I think we should have something filed. We had a meeting,
Yeah.
and I think all we did was continue it. It was a very short meeting, but
yeah, I'll have to rewatch that if it's on there.
it is.
Okay.
There's like 5 minute. It was like a 5-minute meeting.
Yeah. Well, this one may be about that too. Okay. Let's do the approval of the March minutes, wherever they went to.
I make a motion to approve of the March minutes.
I second.
John was not here, so he's
Have to bow out.
quiet. Where did we go? Okay, all in favor? Good. Yes. Okay. There's no corrections or anything. Minutes approved. Correspondence. Well, we did get some good news finally after waiting since. When was the last time we heard from him? Back in March?
It was March. It was March because they sent out the letters, and then they followed up with emails because the letters crossed as everything closed down at the beginning
Right.
of COVID.
Yeah. So Michael Steinitz from the Mass Historical Commission, I guess, is that his?
Yep.
Secretary of State's office. Finally, after waiting 3 months, roughly, so we finally got a letter basically outlining the meeting schedules for the Massachusetts Survey and Planning Grant Program. So we will be participating in that, and next week is the kind of the orientation meeting, I guess. And we'll be ready to move ahead. Sometime after that point, I don't really know what the timeline is going to look like. I'm sure it's changed now because we should have actually been starting around now, right? Is that correct, Jamie?
Yeah, we're about 2 months. We're behind schedule. They're going to have these orientations in April, and then
Right.
contracts with the state, and then we're supposed to be out to RFP to hire our sub-consultants to start July 1st. And we're now having our orientation meeting on July 2nd.
Second. Yeah, 2 months behind.
So
No big deal.
we'll see.
But we're, you know, we're on track, I guess. So.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Thank you.
So Mike and I will be attending that meeting, and we'll keep bringing information back to the commission about that project.
Yep. I don't believe that there is anything else as far as correspondence goes. So I haven't seen anything. Have you?
No, so there are, the planning board did receive two, they received two applications, and I will forward them to the commission after the meeting. If you have any comments related to historic nature, just write back to either me or Jeff Bagg with your comments. And if you have comments or concerns just as a citizen or resident of Easthampton, but not with like the historic side of your life, then you can actually just go to the meeting and attend as a resident and speak in public, speak for or against the projects.
What are the projects?
One is a propane storage and distribution facility in the industrial district off of O'Neill Street. And the other is a solar project off of Plain Street. It was permitted, I think, in 2016 or 2017.
That's
but they
the
didn't
one
act.
next to the Gostina property.
Correct. Yeah.
Too.
But they didn't act on it quickly enough, and the permit expired before they could start construction.
Okay.
So.
So they got to go through all the hoops again.
Yeah, but so
Okay.
I'll forward those. I'll forward those to the commission. And like I said, if you have any questions, please, or comments, please just send them to City Planner Jeff.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Manny's here.
Hi, Manny.
Yep.
How are you?
He's muted right now.
So do you want to go back and open up the public hearing, and then
We
we'll
can do that
finish
as
with the
soon
rest
as
of the
I-
meeting?
As soon as
Finish
we
the
get,
rest of the meeting.
if he can he hear us?
I don't know, but
Yeah, yes.
Oh, there
Okay.
you are. Okay. How you doing?
Good, and yourself?
Okay. I'm sorry. I guess I forgot to send you that link.
That's okay. I just saw the email. This phone was charged, and it's been part of the afternoon. I had to go
Yeah,
back.
we were talking about, so like, where he is. I'm looking through all these different emails, and I'm going, I don't know if I sent that or not. So
Nah,
figured I'd send it to you again, and John was right. We sent you a lifesaver, and there you are.
no sweat.
Okay. So I guess at this point we can reopen the public hearing. We were just taking care of some other business while we were waiting. See if you would show up.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's do a quick little recap here. At this point, we've basically heard from the applicant. We toured the property. We have the architectural report. And I think that's That is about it. All the public comment, I had closed the public comment at the last meeting. It's been a while, so, I mean, how does anybody feel about reopening that if anybody has any comments? I mean, so we can make a motion. If not, we can just move right
Mike?
along. Yeah,
I think it'd be good just to, just ask, see if anyone has anything, even just put it out to the board. And I think we have 1 or 2 members of the public in the meeting.
Yep.
Just make sure we're not rushing ahead.
yeah.
Jane is here, but she's muted. Jane, do you want to say anything? Jane,
Hello?
can you hear us? I'm not sure she knows how to unmute.
I can,
Okay, I think I'm unmuted.
yes, you
Ah.
are.
Yeah.
Can you just state your name and address for the record?
Jane Corliss, 10 East Street, Easthampton, Mass.
Thank you. Do you have
Do
any?
you have any?
I was at the last meeting and I just, I really don't have any comment. I was just wondering what the Historical Society, how the Historical Society is feeling about the demolition.
By Historical Society, do you mean the Historical Commission? Or do you
Oh,
mean
yeah. All right, yeah, the commission.
That's not them, yeah.
I think
I think we'll
that's
find
something
out.
that the commission's gonna discuss tonight, so.
Okay, good.
Okay,
Okay.
so at this point,
I have one comment since I'm recused from voting. I think that when this area was assessed, we were assessed as a neighborhood. If you notice, there are only 1 or 2 houses that were completely assessed historically at the time, but it was considered as a whole neighborhood, which since 91 was started and built in the 60s, were kind of cut off from the other parts of Mount Tom. So we're our own little area down here at this end of East Street. And my feeling is that it would change the neighborhood feeling for the houses that are here if it were allowed to come in. That's all I have to say.
okay. Anybody else? Manny, do you have any comments or?
No, I don't. At the moment, I don't. I
Okay.
just hope we provide everything you needed.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I'm pretty sure I got everything that I pretty much wanted to see.
I have a question actually for maybe Jamie.
Mhm.
Do we know about the plans Northampton and Easthampton have for Route 5? Can you speak to any degree as to whether that's got any kind of intention about it as to what it would develop into?
I'm
Or
not
have
really sure
no
what
plans been
you're.
made? Yeah, I guess I'll be blunt. Have Northampton and Easthampton considered the development of 5 over time in the future? So for example, it could go the way of Route 9 in Hadley, or it could go the way of Route 2. You know, I'm just saying, has anybody projected at all?
Could I just comment on that? There wouldn't, because this is floodplain down here, you couldn't develop anything.
I don't know that.
On one side of the road.
What's that? You
And
said that?
I was just, sorry. Beverly, do you want to state that again?
Last comment, I don't know who was speaking. Was that Nora or
No, it's Beverly.
Beverly?
On one side of the
Oh, okay.
road, you have the railroad tracks and the river. And on the other side, you have the oxbow and, you know, some farmland. So I don't think there's anything developable between the Holyoke line and the dike in Northampton.
I think that as far as Northampton goes, Beverly's completely right. There's nothing really developable north of Easthampton until you get to the Cooley Dickinson Atwood Drive complex. Going south along Route 5, it's zoned highway business, and it's been zoned highway business going back 50, 60 years. So I don't know if the studies that led to that, and I don't know if there's been any studies since.
Well,
and
there
then
was
likewise in Holyoke, I have not heard of anything of them trying to do any development that far.
when you go south of here, 91 is on the right-hand side, so there's nothing developable there. And then on the left-hand side is where the old power plant was, which is now part of the power company that installed all of the solar panels on the left-hand side going south on 5. And they own all of that property, and I think they're working with Holyoke to figure out whether they're going to put in some type of recreation area or not, or park. But I think they're still cleaning up all of the coal residue that's probably in that area.
Mm-hmm. Nora, if you want to.
Yeah, thanks. I forgive me if I don't remember exactly if Manny, if you had to do a traffic study, or does a traffic study have to happen for this project? That's one thing I
Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to address that. So there's a planning board process and there's a historical commission process, and I think there's a little bit of conflating between where the line is between the two, and without sort of telling the commission what is exactly in your purview, a lot of the questions of developability of the area, neighborhood character, traffic analysis, building facades, parking layouts, sidewalks, all that's done under the planning board process for their site plan approval or the special permit piece of it. The historical commission is looking at the existing structure and whether or not demolition of that structure is going to be significant or harmful to the character of the neighborhood or to the community. And so I want to I know it's hard to separate out what's there now and what will be there later, but it is, you know, it's a little bit, they're kind of separate issues.
I totally get that. I'm sorry. I know that consciously, and that was a faux pas. So sorry.
Oh, it's all right. Yeah, you know, it would be good to keep the centered on whether this is a significant building historically. I mean, and that I kind of like to take that to a little bit higher standard than just like, well, it's old and, you know, it's kind of looks good there. I mean, there should be some good reasons why it is. I mean, this is just in my mind, you know, you move up the road a little bit, the old Underwood house right by the 91, I mean, is 1860s probably, and, you know, even more significant. And of course, the the big 25 East Street, no, 15, I'm sorry. 15 is, you know, a beautiful old house. And, you know, obviously take that away from, that would certainly change the look of that whole area. But then again, you know, at one point way back, they almost sold all that farm to UPS. There would have been a distribution center there. So all of that would have been gone. It's just, you know, luck of the draw, I guess, that didn't happen.
Mhm.
So anyways, I mean, you know, certainly willing to take comments on, as you know, your feelings about the property or the structure itself, outside of what needs to be decided by planning. And I would like to, you know, have some motions proposed. I mean, whether we act on them or not, you know, I mean, I kind of like to get at least something settled. It's been kind of a long time. I know there's not a whole lot happening anywhere, so it's not, you know, hasn't been too much of a burden on anybody, but I'd like to get it moving. So, anybody have anything else at this point, or anybody have a motion that would like to propose? Yay, nay? Come on, don't be shy.
Not sure the nature of what would be proposed.
Well, that's up to you, I guess. You know, we propose to either approve a demolition delay, or I'm just looking for some notes here. Move to allow the demolition would be one way to go, or just the opposite, impose a demolition delay. Impose a demolition delay with what's the word I'm looking for?
Looking conditions or?
Conditions. Yes, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, probably should have had some put up in the, anyways.
So just to make sure I understand. So if we go ahead with the demo delay, then that does move things forward. That starts the wheels of progress.
For sure.
Okay. Or, and the only other option is, or to just say, we're going to bypass that. Those are really the two possible paths here.
Yeah, and I think according to the ordinance, that's the first. There's the decision there's a decision as to the historical significance of the building, and then there's a decision as to whether or not, in the likelihood of the commission, whether or not that building can be saved or is worth saving, or if there's a desire to save it, or if this is just something that's going to happen no matter what. It's almost a two-part. If it's not historically significant or not significant to the neighborhood or the community, then there's no need to vote on the. There's no need to vote on whether or not you're bypassing the delay.
Well, I think it is historically significant to the neighborhood. It may not be as architecturally significant, but as part of the neighborhood, it's historically significant.
And that's where I'm leaning. My head right now is on the likelihood I would want to ask for us to have the demo period in order to assess whether there is any criteria besides the age and the architectural historical significance in terms of, for example, neighborhood character, the pinning of the gateway to Easthampton proper. It seems to me we might be in a gray zone in terms of the difference between how it affects a neighborhood versus is it specifically built in a period or of an architectural nature or having been possessed by somebody of historical significance. which currently are the things that I understand would absolutely cause us to say it is historically significant.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That makes it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And you know, it's a good point. I don't know if it's intentionally vague. From pretty much everything that I've been looking at other places, they don't really say like, well, this, you know, the only thing that really indicates significance is maybe having it inventoried or National Register, you know, designations, and obviously it's significant then. But you know, it's even places that are on National Register get torn down. So, yeah, you know, I mean, it would certainly be appropriate to enact a demolition delay at this point, with even, you know, conditions that the applicant moves through into the process, the planning process, and gets his approvals. If he doesn't get the planning approvals, we're preserving the building by not allowing him to tear it down. And, you know, in the meantime, if we said, yeah, go ahead, tear it down, he could tear it down and then not even, you know, walk away from any other approvals. So
That would be my concern, because if you tore it down and then the zoning board says no, then we wouldn't be able to recover. So where I'm leaning is to propose a demo delay. During that time, we can assess whether there are any other criteria that need to be considered. And if not, then the applicant can proceed with the next phase. And that's assuming, again, that the next step of the process gives approval, which otherwise would make this a moot point.
could you make that into a motion?
I move we enact the demo delay period for the East Street 5 and 9 properties, and that the applicant move to the next phase as a condition of us, what's the right phrasing, Jamie? As a condition. Does that work? I'm never good at the phrasing.
Yeah.
I move we enact the demo delay.
So why don't we break it down into a couple of subsequent motions? So that way, one motion will
Please.
be a motion for historical and architectural significance, and the next motion will be about the conditions that are going to be enacted, and the third motion would be about the putting on a demo delay. So that way we can take them one at a time.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
I move we
And
activate. Yeah. So I can
So
make
then-
the
so
one
let's- so-
motion, right?
So start with the that the demolition of the building would be detrimental to the historical and architectural heritage and resources of the city.
Which is separate, you're saying, from the
So
demo
that
delay
is
process.
so demolition of the building would be detrimental.
Demolition of the
And then
building.
and then if that passes, then the next step is the demo delay and the conditions. If it doesn't pass, then the commission has decided that it's not detrimental and that the applicant can go and do what they want.
Okay.
I think I understand this. So at this time, I move that at this time, the demolition of the properties on 5 and 9 East Street would be detrimental
To the historical and architectural heritage and resources of the city.
to the historical and architectural resources of the city.
Okay, so you're making a motion that's saying that it is detrimental if we tear them down.
I am making a motion saying that it is
Yeah.
detrimental if we tear them down at this time.
All right. So, very good. I've got a second on that? Yes?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Do we need to do a roll call vote on this, Jamie?
That would, yes.
Yes. And Beverly is recused herself from this, right? So
Unfortunately.
unfortunately. Okay, John, in favor,
Aye.
yay or nay? Aye.
Yay.
Yay, yes. Laura?
Aye.
Aye. We have Tracy on the line anywhere?
Nope.
No? And I will vote aye. Okay.
Okay.
So saying it's significant to the character of the neighborhood. So the next order is,
So whether or not there are any conditions, so maybe we should talk about the demolition delay and the conditions that you want to see on the demolition delay. So
Okay.
maybe up to 6 months, and that it can't be torn down without getting the approvals, the necessary approvals for the planning board.
Yep.
For the next phase. And if there's any type of subsequent reviews or historic items or things that you want to see integrated into it to preserve historic character going forward, or you know, things like that.
Yep. Okay. So shall we move that the demolition delay would remain in effect until the owner moves through the planning process and secures approval on the, what is it, planning and zoning, or is it just
They could just say necessary,
necessary?
necessary planning approvals, or yeah.
Approvals. Okay. All right, so how about we have a motion that demolition delay shall remain in effect until the applicant moves through the planning process and gets the required approvals. And then we would act on the rescinding it, or you know, whatever. That way we preserve the property while it's you know, still up in kind of in limbo. Good enough? Got a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? John?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Michael? Aye. Tracy? Nope, still no Tracy, huh?
Yep.
All right. We have a quorum with 3?
So, yep.
Okay.
4 to 5. And so the final vote. So typically the demolition delay is a 6-month period, and it expires after 6 months. So in order to extend it, if necessary, if the planning board process hasn't been completed by then, do you want the applicant to come back to the historical commission at a regular interval to provide updates to the commission, or do you want the planning board to, if there's any sort of reviews or anything like that, if that would,
yeah,
you know, like, then you know, speed up the process, or
yeah, maybe a combination of the two things. If he's got some, I mean, obviously we're going to have a connection with the planning department a lot easier, you know, save him some of the trouble, but he should probably check in at least every other month. So it's like 3 times over the 6 months, or however long it takes. So every other month. that reasonable? Or when something is checked off the list?
Yeah, whichever comes first, right? Approval or just to verify that things are moving along, keep us informed of how it's proceeding.
Yep. How's that
So
sound,
that's-
Manny? Is that good?
You're muted.
You're muted.
Yeah, he's muted.
Yes, I'm okay with it.
Okay, good.
Yeah. The only question that I have is, so let's say 6 months ago, but what happens even though, let's say we're in the final stages of getting the proven. Let's say it takes another meeting to go. Everything looks good, but it takes another meeting or so. So how does that work with a historical? Because technically, when the 6 months go by, we could demo. So do you guys want to put a motion in place that will, instead of having the 6 months, and I don't know how you awarded that, but to say, if we get approved, that at the time, that's when we'll do the demo. So it will save a lot of, on your end and my end, from coming back and forth and all of that stuff.
Right, yeah. Yeah. I don't think that's
But
unreasonable.
I don't know if the law allows that, because if you say 6
yeah.
months.
I think once the demo delay is enacted, it is for 6 months.
6 months, yeah. Well, it
Yeah,
can be rescinded earlier than 6 months. So.
Right.
My expectation would have been that it's to preserve during the process. So if you get approved, you would come back to the next historical commission meeting and let us know that.
Yeah. No, I got it, and I'm okay with this. It's just, I'm saying is, do you guys, it could take 5 months or it could take 9 months. So
Yeah.
if it takes 5 months, I
If
still have
it
to wait.
runs over the 6, I mean, I'm not really sure. I don't think we ever had that happen where we extended it longer.
Mhm.
So
So let's put it this way. I'll give you my word, and this stays on record, that we'll only demo when we get everything approved.
okay.
So it stays on record. So it doesn't, it could take 6 months, it could take 9 months, or whatever. If it comes early, we'll wait to 6 months anyways.
Okay.
So this way nobody gets in trouble.
All right. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Is that fair? Is that fair enough?
I think it's reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I understand where you guys are coming from, and you want to protect it. If it doesn't go through for whatever happened or whatever the reason, if we demoed beforehand and the project doesn't go through, okay, we just have a vacant lot, and we could have saved, we could have turned around or did something with the house.
Yeah, exactly.
I got it.
All right. Very good. Does that last part need to be made into a motion, or pretty much?
Yeah, I think it'd be good to make a motion, turn that into a motion, and get it some sort of vote on that. That everyone on the commission who's voting is okay with that.
Yeah. Okay, so that now, remind me, that's basically saying that the demo delay will remain in effect until all the approvals are met, right? Or was there something else that I missed?
Is
Or
that
Well, so
language we can use?
I don't think that you can make the demo delay longer than 6 months based on the statute and the ordinance. I do think that if the planning board approvals have not been granted by the time the demo delay would have expired, that the historic commission can then basically can extend the demo delay for another 6 months at that point in time, but you wouldn't be able to do it for some indefinite period of time
right? Yeah.
from now to to whenever.
Yeah.
I would assume we just cross that bridge when we get to it. If in 6 months things aren't done, don't we just vote then? And in the meantime, do we need
I
another
think
motion?
I think it'd be good to put it into a motion that you're reserving the right to extend it for another 6 months at the end of this 6-month period.
I move that we reserve the right to extend this demo delay for another 6 months period at the end of this 6 months if the conditions are not met.
Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, John? Aye.
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
And Mike? Aye. Okay. Is there anything else we need to discuss? I see the sun's coming behind me there.
Yeah,
Anything else
I've
we
been
need to,
moving because it keeps coming behind me.
Yeah, anything else that we need to discuss as far as the properties there at this point? Or are we pretty much set? So we're enacting a 6-month demo delay with the condition that the applicant goes through the planning process and gets the necessary approvals, at which time the demo will be approved. And we reserve the right to extend the demolition for another 6 months. The delay for another 6 months is if the approvals aren't met at that point after 6 months. So is that pretty much everything? Yes? That's the way I understand it? Okay. All right.
I'd just like to acknowledge, Manny, your patience through all this process, and you've been very gracious about the whole thing. So
Absolutely.
acknowledge that.
Well, thank you. We're all in the same boat. We didn't know this pandemic was going to happen, and it is what it is. So,
Yeah.
not much we could do about it.
No, not at all.
Yeah. And just a quick off the record, the traffic study, it is they are working on it. Actually, they already finished, so we already have that prepared for the planning board. So,
Okay.
but it's off the
Do you-
record.
This whole meeting's on the record still. Sorry.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, we have a public meeting. So,
Okay.
but do you have an estimated date for when you're submitting to the planning board?
I believe Rob has done that. It was always on Jeff's desk
Okay.
to get that. I think the next meeting, it's sometime in July, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Very good. Thank you very much, Manny.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you, everybody.
Good luck with everything.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So-
So
We're going to continue the meeting.
is the public hearing is done.
What happened to John? John just disappeared.
John disappeared. Oh, no. Hopefully it's nothing serious. I'll move over. Here we go. We can wait for John to come back.
Well, we still have a quorum if you want to continue or whenever you want to continue.
I don't really have a whole lot. It's more like information.
There he is.
Hey, John.
He's gonna.
Hi.
It's-
Welcome
Sorry about
back.
that.
That's quite all right.
Zoom crashed.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Where's my agenda? Thank you for wading through all that confusion. Okay. I guess the next item would be the kind of an update on the New Haven Northampton Canal, or the Hampshire Canal. Is that
Mhm.
more appropriate name now?
Yep.
We are meeting.
Excuse me.
Okay, I'm going to mute you.
We're meeting again on. Is it Monday?
Yes.
Monday, yeah. Not really sure exactly what we've accomplished at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? The last couple of meetings were like, well, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. A lot of it's going on in the background with the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission is putting together all the pieces, and we've been sort of meeting monthly to help steer it. There hasn't been a lot of work that we've had to do as the partners on this.
That's the part that's
Yeah.
kind of got me a little disjointed, I guess. It's like, well, okay. A lot of it's already been done over the years, which is kind of interesting. I have just one question for Jamie. Do we need to get a list of the abutters to that property or the owners of those properties?
Eventually, but
Looking
not
for?
yet.
Not yet. Okay.
I think we're at that point in time. It should be a pretty easy thing to do. We'll work with the assessors to get it, and
Yeah. Okay. It shouldn't be too bad, anyways.
yeah.
right.
One of the things that is actually coming up at the next meeting. There's John again. I'm going to let him back in. So the Shannon at PVPC has been in touch with Mass Historic Commission, and they are preliminarily going to be requesting a reconnaissance survey of the entire length of the canal, as well as targeted area inventory forms to document the most significant remaining sections. And so they asked us in advance of the Monday meeting to try to brainstorm some ideas in Easthampton that we know of where there are significant portions of the town of the canal remaining, or significant areas if there were, you know, the let's say there was an inn or a bar, a tavern or something like that that served the canal. So if there were anything that we knew.
That one house there on Northampton Street.
Right.
I don't know what number it is.
But that was the tavern or the inn?
Yeah, either that or maybe even a storehouse or something. Not exactly sure.
It's right at the crossing of the where Northampton Street crosses the Manhattan.
Yeah, we're in the corner of Mill Street. Yeah.
I think we already, I believe there's already an inventory form for that property.
Yes, I believe there is.
Um,
I mean, the other sections, obviously O'Neill Street's got a couple of nice, you know, pieces of the canal that are visible from the road.
is that from O'Neill Street? Like you can see the canal bed, right?
Yeah, on both sides. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously it's overgrown at this point, but I wouldn't expect it to be clear anywhere, you know, along those, most of the whole, I don't believe there were any locks that were around.
What?
The one place I wanted to check, I went to check with Dennis Courtney and maybe take
Bev,
a
you're
walk
muted.
out back there.
I thought Lovefield, I thought right off of.
Sorry,
was a
I'm gonna, Beverly's muted, so I think she had a comment.
Bev, you gotta unmute.
There we go.
Okay.
Bob Schwab and Roma went to a lot of meetings in Westfield and other places. And Bob Schwab might still have information on it.
I think I have it.
Bob gave you the information?
Roma gave me a folder with stuff in it. It's not a whole lot, but I'm not sure. Bob gave me something for Stop and Shop.
I have the map that, I'm forgetting
I
his
have the-
name made, but the canal map.
The map that the guy gave us, and I think you printed out, is kind of pieces. I actually put it together. So it's
Oh,
like,
cool.
yeah, it had to do a lot of cutting, but it gives you a pretty good, I think it's the whole Western Mass section. Came out all right.
And I would second the Love Field, because it's right next to the bike path, which means you can
Yep.
bike to it.
That's
So
true.
Mike, was this when you said O'Neill Street? Was that also Love Field, or is that?
Well, if you look at like either Google Earth or Google Maps, you can see, kind of get a sense of where it's running. O'Neill Street, it runs between the move-in self-storage and the old Strong bus.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, you can see where it crosses over there too.
Yeah, it's all where all the trees are. And
Yeah.
then, just up the street, crossing Love Field. Not exactly sure, because when you drive through that section of Love Field Street, you can't really tell, but I believe that narrow building that's, I think it's not the first one's for sale, the second one or third one down the hill. Raymond's used to live there. I believe that actually had something to do with the canal at one time also. It's possible it was like an old barn or something. But yeah, along the rail trail as you get into Northampton, right? There you can see some pieces of it.
Behind Arcadia.
Yeah, between Arcadia and the recycling place.
I still agree with Beverly, though, that it's worth talking to Bob, because he might have this type of extra information that might not have been included in anything that Roma had.
True.
Uh,
Yeah, that's possible.
His passion for it, I think, is worth tapping into.
Does
Yeah.
anyone have contact for him? Mike, do you have contact for him?
I would have to look. I'm sure it's on something,
Yeah,
but over the years, I have papers from way back.
He lives in Southampton now. They moved into a complex there.
He probably has a landline too, as opposed to being fully cell phone.
I think the section that would be kind of interesting just to see what's there is between Highland Avenue and Mill Street.
Well, what's happening with the place that wanted to buy the property behind the Tasty Top? Have we heard any more about whether they're going to actually build their research site there? Because Nora and I went to the meeting when they came in and talked to the town. And we, mentioned the fact that part of the canal was there.
Yeah,
Jamie,
I don't know if I don't believe that they've submitted anything to the city. They have to get their state permitting done before they get their city permits.
I noticed that the property is still for sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where that's at.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I was thinking of giving Dennis Courtney a call just to be able to take a walk back there, without disturbing anybody. Just to see what's out there. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I think actually their property doesn't go all the way back. There's the person that owns the 24 Mill Street or
That
18
house
Mill
at the very
Street.
end. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I believe that's where the canal goes through, is through their property.
Is that still Tory or is that somebody else now?
I think it's someone else now.
Yeah, I thought they moved somewhere.
Yeah, by Lucky Tory sold it in 2014.
Okay.
So
I knew both of them. Who's there now? Do you know?
Who's James Seltzer?
Okay. Well, like I said, it's not, you know, it would not be essential, but it'd be kind of a neat, like I said, I'm more interested in the fact that the spot between like Plymouth Ave, I guess, just by looking at the map, the line of trees that runs up to the building on Northampton Street is kind of, it's probably where it was. I'm just wondering if there's anything left in those woods. It'd be hard to tell. I know the Highland Avenue area, I think that's all washed away.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
Need our LiDAR.
we will,
Right.
yeah, there you go. We'll find out more. Yeah, actually, that would probably work really well for that. We'll find out more on Monday, and we'll keep plugging away on that. The demo delay bylaw. Haven't really put anything together yet, so I think it would be a little difficult without having materials in front of each and every one of you to actually talk about this. I mean, we need some ideas on, you know, number one, you know, the fact that we just went through this process should give us some decent ideas on what we don't want to do in the future. And, you know, I mean, really, certainly not rocket science. It's, but I think we need probably a little better outline than what we have at this point. And, you know, like I said, I kind of favored the application process and having some requirements when they walk in, say like, okay, this is what, you know, we need from you before we even start talking about whether, you know, you're going to tear this building down or not. You know, and putting up some signage on the property, I thought was a great idea, because that shows everybody else that's going by there that, oh, this, you know, and that's a spot where you might find somebody that would be willing to invest in a property that, you know, is potentially going to be destroyed just because they happen to see it as they're driving by every day. You know,
Did I miss that? It sounds like a great idea. Somebody proposed that when it's under demo delay, a sign goes up so everybody would know that.
yeah, some cities and towns have the a signage requirement if the before the public hearing. Yeah,
100% in favor. Yeah,
I think it's a terrific idea.
absolutely.
You know, so it's also gives you the public hearing information and all that, and you know, so then you know they have requirements on the size of the sign and the whatnot. I'll try to get it together. Hopefully, you know, the next one or the meeting after, if we're only a couple of weeks away from the next one.
What I would like to propose is that, you know, when we were one of the first towns in the area to have a demolition delay. I was on the committee when it was first enacted. This was years ago. And so it was done as 6 months, but most of the towns that have done it more recently have done it for a year. Like Northampton was real late coming to doing anything, and they lost some significant buildings, especially on Old South Street. And then they finally did their demo delay, but they did it for a year instead of the 6 months. And I would suggest that we do a year instead of a 6 month delay.
I'll be back in a second.
So that had been part of my original curiosity about being able to re-up it as well. 6 of one, a half dozen of the other, if we can re-up, but it sounds like this might be a better idea.
I think if we looked at some of the other towns around, I know Northampton's is a year, but I'm not sure of some of the other towns around how long they are.
And I would love to see something that the intention is that they should be finding an alternative if one is possible.
Right.
And we get nothing that verifies that any of that happened. I'd love to come up with some ideas about something that actually incentivizes them to actually try and show that they tried.
Yep.
Yeah, not sure what that would be.
I mean, our ordinance says that now, that they have to try to sell it or preserve it, but
We don't require any proof of, right? We just say you have to try, and then that's it.
right. But I mean, this is like that piece with like continuing it or not, extending the delay or not, is empowering the commission to be like, we don't believe that you've done your due diligence. We're going to extend it for another 6 months.
Well, I think
We still don't believe that you've done your due diligence. We're going to extend another 6 months.
If we update the ordinance, we can probably put that in there. Because
Right.
as it stands right now, you know, if somebody said, screw that, I'm not doing anything, you know, and waited out the 6 months and we tried to extend it again and they said, well, no, I'm going to fight you, we'd probably lose at this point.
Right.
So,
But also, you know, if they decide, yeah, so they might do that, or it's possible that you know, fighting the historical commission on this would end up taking a lot longer than another 6 month delay. So they
True.
may.
it's true too.
But
You know,
since we don't have it,
it's kind of like rolling the dice. It's, you know,
Yeah.
is this guy going to fight us or not?
right. Obviously, the cat's out of the bag with the property, that the 5 and 9 East Street. So
Yeah.
going forward, we can work on it, and now's a great opportunity. I'd propose that. So our next meeting would be scheduled for July 8th.
Yeah.
Is that enough time to put something together, Mike, for everyone to look at, or?
Well, you know, it all depends on how ambitious I get, I suppose. I don't know. I mean, we don't have to be on the 2 week, you know, back to the second Wednesday yet. If we want to wait till, you know, we can wait till August. We don't have a whole lot else going on besides what we already took care of, right?
Yeah, I mean, everything else is just, yeah, there's nothing else that needs, yeah, it's just informational, I
I
think.
mean, if you want, we can wait till August or the end of July.
My personal feeling on it is that while everyone still has a lot of feelings about this process that we just went through,
Yeah.
that we try to deal with it sooner rather than later.
Well, why don't we still have the meeting in July if we can put some pieces together. You know, we don't need to have 100% of it there, and maybe we can kick around some more ideas.
So
That sound reasonable?
Sounds
go shoot for July 8th, or
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, I don't have anything on my calendar for July. I was actually thinking of doing maybe a little camping, but that wouldn't be on a Wednesday. Well, maybe a Wednesday night.
I can do July 8th if you like.
July 8th, all right?
I already put it in my calendar here.
Okay, well then it's
Now we have to do it.
set in stone. Okay.
Life has been so busy since March.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so yeah, we'll pick that back up in 2 weeks. Item 8 is what we already talked about, the survey and planning grant. So that's actually kind of been updated. So I think you guys are up to speed on that. And actually, we can report after our July 2nd meeting, if we get into that, at our next meeting. Let everybody know where we stand. And we've already scheduled the next meeting, so all we need to do is adjourn, I guess, unless anybody's got something else.
Mike, can I just ask you to follow up for the demo delay hearing, did you, so we're supposed to communicate the results of this to the building commissioner and the planning board?
Yeah.
Is that something that you are able to take care of, or do you want me to do that, or?
I could draft a letter, I guess.
Okay.
Planning
I
board,
probably should,
building-
probably
who
should
is
actually,
who is the building inspector?
name is Joseph Mexer.
Okay.
And probably should copy Manny as well in that.
Yep.
So he gets a formal email.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. Okay. Anybody else have anything that? I mean, as far as even for next meeting, so I can put it on the agenda. No. Stone walls, Nora. I'll have to check that out. It sounds pretty good.
Do you know anybody who builds stone walls?
I don't.
I do. If you're looking for somebody, I can put you in touch.
Please.
That's one thing Easthampton doesn't have a whole lot of is stone walls.
I have a stone wall here that's falling apart, and I've got two guys. One said he'd do it 3 years ago, and then one this year, and it hasn't happened yet. So I'm looking to have an old wall that my father built rebuilt.
Nice.
So if you know of anybody, John, pass it along.
Will do.
All right.
I move we adjourn.
Okay.
I got a second? Okay.
I
All in favor? Yay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
See you in a couple of weeks.
All right.
Thanks,
Take
everyone.
care.
Yeah, thank you. Nora, are you out of school?
Stay healthy.
Jamie,
Sorry.
the second is what you said works for you? For that
All
meeting?
right.
Yeah.
you have-
th-
At 1 p.m.?
so
All right.
stop
I
recording
will.
this.